Hello and welcome back to the WoK of Kings. Today we're covering Chapter 5, Heretic, and this is Episode 6, Chapter 5, Heretic.
Makes total sense if you think about it.
Yeah. And this is this our second Shallan chapter?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay, which means that it's your turn to give us our chapter summary, right?
Yeah.
After they sucked all the blood from your body.
They did. For reference, I did a blood donation today with the Red Cross. I do a power red blood donation, which basically they take double the red cells and give me back all my plasma and platelets and everything, along with a little bit of extra juice. So it's fun stuff. Almost passed out this time. So, that was fun.
Yeah, that's something to be avoided, but you didn't. Which is good.
I did avoid,
or rather, you did avoid. You didn't do it. Yeah. Well, thank you for giving the blood, my brother. We're good. Of course, a good thing to do.
Yes. And certainly anybody who's listening, the Red Cross is a fantastic organization. I highly suggest, if you've never donated before, at least going and donating once. If you download their app for the Red Cross donation app, you can actually follow your blood and see which hospital it ends up at if it is used, really cool. And if it's not used, they tell you if it goes into storage or if it gets used for like research and stuff like that. So cannot say enough that more people should donate and everything. But off of that, Shallan.
Yeah.
Shallan. So this chapter, Shallan meets Yasna Kholin for the first time and has a discussion with her about Shallan wanting to become Yasna's ward. Yasna had received Shallan's letter to request for Shallan to be Yasna's ward. Yasna basically told her, all right, follow me to this location. And Shallan did that, but Yasna had already moved on. And I think she followed her to 3 separate
she's been following her a lot.
Yeah. Yasna's been stringing Shallan along a little bit. Shallan finally catches up with Yasna. Yasna and Shallan walk with King Taravangian of Yakaved. Taravangian will become one of the most important characters in Stormlight, but this is the first time that we actually meet him. They walk through some tunnels and they come upon a collapsed tunnel that is blocking Taravangian's granddaughter, I believe.
Yeah, we find out after the fact this is why he cared so much. It's like, that's a nice. We can see that even though he's a king, and in contrast to everything Kaladin's been very justifiably ranting about Light Eyes, we can see this is at least it's not really saying much for like a king to care about his granddaughter, but we're seeing like a bit of humanity as like one of his defining traits.
Yeah,
which is like him caring about his granddaughter is the probably most, like, his granddaughter as like a symbol for other stuff. Caring about people and is Taravangian's defining trait.
Yeah, if his granddaughter stood in for literally all of the people of the city, then yes, that is Taravangian's driving trait. But because Yasna is in the city of Kharbranth, he requests Yasna to soul cast the piece of rock that's blocking the tunnel. This is the first time that we see somebody soul cast. Obviously, it's very early in the book, but it's also the first time that Shallan sees somebody soul cast. So that gives you an idea of it is.
I guess because her dad's soul casting would have always been done like in secret. And
right.
Not, like, in front of her. Yeah.
Her dad would take the steward out and then go surveying, and then they would find a vein of precious minerals to sell. So
straight up Elon Musking his drops.
Yasna soul casts the rock into smoke. It is cool. that we have attention to things like the volumetrics of mass. Like smoke takes up a lot more volume than the rock does in the same amount of mass, so we get the explosive expansion of the smoke and stuff like that. So that's cool that amount of detail is paid to this. And
this just occurred to me now, but it does make me wonder what the particles of smoke would look like under a microscope, like what they're actually made of.
In like real world?
In Stormlight, like if you're specifically soulcasting something into smoke as like one of the fundamental elements, because smoke could be any number of things in the real world. So I wonder like what specifically it's turning into.
Yeah, that is true. Shallan's senses tell her that it is wood smoke, so I would hazard to say that it is largely what we would consider to be smoke, which is essentially floating carbon molecules. I mean, obviously, along with a lot of other byproducts of combustion, but I would suspect it would not be dissimilar to what we.
I wonder what kind of tree it would be from. Maybe we should not ask that question, just as we probably shouldn't ask what kind of meat you potentially might get from soul casting into meat.
It is the meat kind of
it's
meat.
Meat trademark.
It is meat with a little R circle restricted. Yasna grills Shallan a little bit on Shallan's education.
Sorry.
It's fine. I quite understand. Shallan's education is not up to what Yasna expects. Shallan gets a little short with Yasna.
It's funny because she is short.
She is quite short.
But she's also defensive.
She's also defensive. Yasna ultimately tells Shallan that Shallan is not fit to be her ward, and Yasna and the king just start walking away. And the chapter ends on Shallan refusing to accept that Yasna has refused her and starts following after those two characters.
And also revealing
yes.
She gave did she give the reveal at the end of the last chapter or at the
she did not.
Okay.
She did not. She revealed that the reason that she came to Kharbranth and has been chasing Yasna is not to be Yasna's ward for the sake of the position. It's to use the position of Yasna's ward to steal her soul casting Fabrial, which is freaking crazy.
Yeah, it's an interesting little twist this early into the book. It is wild that she thinks that she could pull it off, I suppose, literally speaking. So, and why is the title of the chapter Heretic?
The title of the chapter is Heretic because Yasna is a heretic. She does not subscribe to any of the houses of the Ardentia. She does not believe that the Almighty is a divine being, and if there is a divine being, then it is not the Almighty.
She's 70% of the way to a Reddit atheist, not quite that insufferable, but, she's kind of got the vibes.
She could have green hair and be serving some lattes and having conversations with customers.
Little honorary fedora.
One of the interesting things, basically right away in this chapter, is that Shallan makes probably 2 or 3 solid notices of how beautiful Yasna is and how full her chest is and how nice and form-fitting her clothes are. And I know that this is confirmed as the series goes on, and it was confirmed fairly early on in Words of Brando, but Shallan is at this point essentially questioning bisexual in terms of her sexual preferences and attraction, which is, it's an interesting beginning for a character, and it's interesting to see so early, especially from a Mormon author
who's very aware of how he has to do this deliberately because it's not something that he's inclined to write normally. Is it actually confirmed in text later on? I feel like I remember maybe Vale making mention. I don't remember if like Shallan in that persona.
Yeah. Okay. So technically speaking, Shallan is straight, and Shallan recognizes beauty and that in other ladies.
Especially with it being something she's very self-conscious about, and because it's something constantly like browbeaten in how their standards of beauty that she's not living up to, supposedly.
Yeah, especially with the red hair and the freckles, and she's not quite as tall.
Which, in this world doesn't make you automatically Hollywood super attractive. Because everybody's got to have the long, black, pure Lethe hair.
And the long legs, too.
That one,
it's a strange movie. Vale is very much like actively bisexual. She pursues both guys and gals. Radiant is more...
She's supposed to be like the most proper and pristine.
Yeah, she is very attracted to Adolin for
political reasons. Like Vale, not Vale, yeah. Radiant might as well be asexual, as far as my perception is.
She is more attracted to Adolin's like training and properness and adherence to the warrior's codes than she is attracted to like Adolin as a person. So just something interesting that we see right off the bat as Shallan directly interacts with, I think, her first female interaction. She mentions that she
on page certainly.
She mentions that she has talked to Yalb's wife.
His wife, right? Yeah,
but we don't see that.
That's
so just kind of correct.
Yeah, and to be clear, I'm not saying that I disagree that she is shown as bisexual on page, because I did remember that from Vale, and I guess just then the question is whether that's an actual trait of Shallan's, like just dialed up to 11, like a lot of the other traits of Vale are, or like some of the other traits of Vale, whether it's Shallan just thinking what would the traits of this like adventurous rogue person be, and then ascribing them to her. But I mean, especially because this is one of the first scenes we see of her, and she is like fixated on Jasnah, because I mean, part of this, I think the meta reason is we just needed to get a description of Jasnah being beautiful, and it happened that a female character was the point of view character. But I also do think that like Brando he had multiple purposes for that.
Yeah, no, I think Sanderson very intentionally. I think most of everything that's done in these early chapters, especially for setups purposes, is done very intentionally.
I definitely think that a ton of effort went into making sure that everything was being set up. Yeah. And with that said, did you have anything else you wanted to mention just in general about the chapter?
Just in general about the chapter, let's see. We do get a couple of mentions of things like some musical instruments. Yes. I don't remember the exact... actually, I've got my book copy right here. Shallan mentions that she is trained in 2 instruments, with the pipes and the something else. I don't remember the other name. But those are things that we essentially never see again, as far as I'm aware. The most amount of musical instrument that we see in Stormlight are drums and flutes, and I think some harps.
Mostly one specific flute, and mostly because it's just Hoyd's flute that he is constantly trying to get Kaladin to play. Which plays
Kaladin's a windrunner.
Well, it plays a major role in the last book. The flute does, because Kaladin's just playing the Wandersail song, which is like it's a very important song for.
Okay.
Nail wrote it, so it's
Oh.
It's like a major point of like connection and of the wind and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
I think Nell wrote it,
but I would not
remember.
be surprised if Nell wrote it.
Some herald wrote it.
All that to say, it's just another piece of like kind of interesting world building that we see at first.
Yeah.
That is essentially dropped.
It is interesting, especially because Hoyd becomes a kind of a mentor to her, and his whole thing is music throughout this series. It is interesting that doesn't come up again. I understand that it's because we are fixating so much on the storytelling aspect of what they have in common, it is something. It is an element that was apparently a big part of Shallan's education that doesn't really come up, despite how vital music and rhythms are to this world building of this entire planet.
Yeah. Speaking of
the pure tones and the rhythms are like the basis of everything.
Yeah. Speaking of which, Shallan believes that she hears a pure tone when Yasna soul casts, which is
funny. Is that something that we?
I don't think so.
Interesting.
I want to say this is one of the only times that I recognize that being the case. Now, granted, it may be that Shallan's radiant powers are reawakening. It's very soon after this point that she starts seeing into the cognitive realm and draws cryptics on her drawings as she is trying to like just do drawings for people.
But her stuff also doesn't have anything to do with music, so it's interesting that that's what she hears.
That's true.
So do you think maybe she was just hearing like the resonant frequency of the gemstone that broke?
It may be. She heard the tone. I want to say she heard the tone before she made note that the gemstone, the smokestone, was glowing as brightly as it was, because it gets to a point where she can't hardly look at it. So I would expect. And I mean, granted, my timeline of the little quick time event may be a little off, but
all those things could have just been happening at once. Easily.
But that's just a couple interesting things that happened. All in all, this was a fairly short chapter. We do get introduced.
It was shorter than the surrounding chapters by like 7 minutes, I think, in the audiobook.
Yeah, I think it was
like 28 minutes, I think, and a lot of the others around have been like 35. I did on the audiobook note, there were, I think there was at least once where Kate reading said Jasna instead of Yasna. I like catching the mispronunciations and what's funny is that they also will, when there's a typo in the book, they have to read the typo even though it's obvious that it's not supposed to be there. And so it's just funny. There's kind of like that archive of the original state of the book before because of course in the later print editions they fix quite a lot of the typos and stuff like that.
That's actually a good point. I think we also got a Shallan in this chapter.
Probably. And the big one is, I believe, is that Kate reading says like Palanquin until it might even be, I think I only noticed the difference in pronunciation in like one of the like book 4 or 5. But I think I have been noticing that Michael, his name is Michael, right? I just drew a blank.
Michael Kramer.
Yeah, Michael Kramer. He does say Palanquin, I believe. Well, maybe I'm getting the two mixed up. Which one has the correct pronunciation?
I'm pretty sure you're correct, and I want to say it's close to the end of book 2 that Kate Redding says Palanquin.
Gotcha.
Majority, anyway. There are definitely slips both ways.
But it would be really funny if they just had like an actual disagreement on how it's pronounced, and like this wasn't just miscommunication or not understanding. Like they have a stance. One of them says, "No, it must be this way," and they're like, "Our war, nobody will ever understand it. Nobody will ever perceive it, but we know." And
imagine that being the argument in a marriage, because they're married. They're both narrators. Mm-hmm. Imagine that being the argument is after a day of recording, you both get home, and that's the thing that like is
that would be really
lightly
funny.
Heated argument over the dinner table is, I can't believe you said it Palanquin like 20 times today. We talked about this yesterday, Kate. Come on.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just going to go watch the cartoon about my favorite Batman character, Harley Quinn. Anyway.
Fun stuff.
Was there anything else you had wanted to mention?
I really don't think so. We don't see any weird Spren stuff. Actually, here's the thing. There are smoke Spren, I believe, that we see at one point or another.
Yeah.
Do you think it's interesting? Do you think it's interesting that when that much of stone was turned into that much of smoke, we don't see any smoke Spren?
I don't think so, because I think it usually, like, Spren usually kind of arise over time, right? Like if you have a strong punch of emotion, you'll see emotional Spren. But doesn't it usually like take some time because it's essentially in response to people's thoughts and emotions about a thing that the Spren appear, right? Like if you came upon a bonfire that you weren't expecting, I don't think, and I'm just pulling a random scenario that never actually happens in the book, but like I would expect someone making a fire to attract flame Spren. I wouldn't expect someone coming upon a fire randomly to see like a bunch of flames Spren around a bonfire, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, like if lightning struck grass where nobody is and it caught fire, if
a tree falls in the woods and nobody hears, are there tree Spren around? Are there stump Spren?
No, I mean I think
I think it's a very good question though. Why there might not have been smoke Spren here if there are smoke Spren, which seems like there's Spren for pretty much everything. I know we sometimes get interludes where it's like, wow, you really spent a lot of time, Brando, just saying, isn't it weird that sometimes there aren't Spren that you'd expect? Like that sure was a good use of time in this 1,000-page book.
Oh, hello, Axes the Collector. Didn't expect you to pop up here again. Oh boy. I think those are just a couple of notes I had for this chapter. How about yourself?
So on my end, I just wanted to say, when you compare like all the complaints that I have about Shallan in the previous chapter, especially about her cleverness, I think this chapter is a fantastic counterpoint to that, because Shallan is, first of all, on her back foot the entire chapter. She's trying to convince somebody who doesn't have a reason to humor her to do something. She knows that her education is flawed and she's trying to make up for it. She's at the end of the chapter, she's basically told, no, there's no chance, and yet she's still going to have to try to figure out a strategy to move forward. And she's having to react to things that are happening in the moment, both in Yasna's arguments and like they come upon the big stone, and Yasna's like, a student, how will you determine what the size of it is? And of course the Shallan answer is the smarty pants, well, I'll just ask somebody who obviously knows. And that is actually something Yasna values. We're seeing that the elements of Shallan's personality, which are definitely detrimental, are actually appreciated by somebody like Yasna, because she's somebody who's like outside of really caring what's prim and proper, but she still understands the power of being prim and proper, which fills that like missing aspect of Shallan's personality that she needs to learn. And so, we're getting back and forth between them because they're both smart, but Yasna is definitely smarter and has more knowledge than Shallan does. And so Shallan is the person having to react and then apologize when she goes too far, instead of everybody just humoring her like in the last chapter. So I really like this chapter. I think this is one of the best Shallan chapters in the book because we get such a dense conversation between the two of them, and she has to like actually cleverly worm her way through the maze. And then at the end, it still doesn't get her what she wants. But just as we're seeing that she's going to keep trying to get what she wants, then she drops the bomb of, well, actually, I'm here to steal her soulcaster. I'm not actually just here to try to become a student. And so I think that's a nice big point of interest. And also the things that Shallan is the best at in terms of like her studies and her art and stuff that we've known has been so good. Yasna doesn't care. The things that she's best at don't matter, and the things that she's worst at, that she doesn't know anything about, are the things Shallan cares or Yasna cares the most about. So we know that she's going to have to work in we have a very specific goal for her to work toward. We know what's going to come next, and I just think this is a great chapter in that regard, as well as getting to see Yasna and Taravangian, both of whom are fantastic characters for the first time, and both really being emblematic of who they're going to be going forward.
Yeah, I certainly agree that this is one of Shallan's strongest chapters, especially in this book. I think that the two big things that we see that Yasna makes a point to be teaching topics for Shallan is understanding the power, the weight that authority can bring, even if the authority is like
not something
perceived.
That you think is inherently valuable. If it's just like you said, perceived, something that people just are ascribing to you because of their own values.
Even Shallan in this chapter saw that Taravangian was like basically treating Yasna as though Yasna was his liege, right? Like
Because
basically
of the
asking
political power between them.
Because of the political power between them, even though for all intents and purposes, she is a visitor in his kingdom. Like he had every right to be the king in the situation, but instead he was like a humble man coming and asking her if she can do her thing. And secondly is that Yasna is very intentional about her words, and when we don't see her like use humor right now necessarily, but being very intentional about
sarcastic, but
she does drop a couple lines of sarcasm,
but only when she thinks they'll be useful, and that's not always the case. Sometimes she does lose her temper, but just going forward. But she's definitely in control of herself here.
Yes, she is very in control, and those are two things that our first Shallan chapter, which is the previous Shallan chapter to this, those are things that very specifically she is lacking. And I think it's good that we got this picture of Yasna as the first one, even though with it being such, I don't know, with the focus of Yasna being such a focus on her being a heretic, I think that it's good that we see her more in her scholar setup, though I personally maybe in this book would like to see her a little bit more at odds with the church. The most that we see her at odds with the church is her.
Does it count as her being at odds with the church if someone from the church is trying to kill her?
Well,
I understand what you're saying. He's not,
yes,
we're not getting like philosophical debates between the two of them, which Yasna would say the reason is because she's already had them all in the past, but that doesn't help us any.
Yeah, it's especially with her being the famous heretic.
Yep.
You would kind of think that whatever Ardentia she's like in close proximity to, would either be having a lot of friction with her or would be trying to convert her, so that even it's stated later on, like Yasna thinks that Capsule is just spending time with Shallan so that he can be the guy that converted Yasna Kholin.
Right.
And
which is a pretty good guess, because that would be the case in like any other situation. And it's funny when Shallan's like excitedly thinking about the new like evangelical arguments that Capsule makes, and Yasna's like, "Oh yeah, I've heard that literally 1,000 times."
Oh, let me guess, you're gonna do the sand thing.
You're like, oh yeah, that's cool. Like, what is and like bananas? It's cool how they fit in our hand, and like you can peel them. And oh yeah,
ring, 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 banana phone. Okay.
And I think that some of what you're saying suffers from the fact that we just kind of stop caring about the Ardentia as the series goes on.
Very quickly.
At the points where at the points where they would like probably be in a lot more conflict, we just kind of don't care about any of that anymore. Like everybody eventually is just kind of like, oh yeah, well, yeah, I guess Honor is dead. I mean, they're not going to come out and say it, but like we know that they know. Care more about trying to control Dalinar than they care about whatever Yasna's up to.
And even friggin' like even Dalinar,
he's like, I'm just going to kind of do whatever I feel like.
Yeah, like he did have the little bit of the mental breakdown when he was officially excommunicated from the church as a heretic. But and I mean, he definitely does have a bit of character growth when he works through that, and with him and Renarin. But after that point, like he is totally fine with being the heretic light, Lite.
Yeah.
And like we get a little bit of friction with him and the Ardens that didn't marry him to his wife, and
he's like, all right, then I'm just gonna have God's ghost marry us instead,
and it's fine.
Yeah,
after that point, it's just fine.
I mean, it's kind of fine. It's just we get him sparring a guy and talking about how tradition is cringe for its own sake, and then that's kind of just the end of it.
Which is hilarious coming from
the short sensei who had to tie his belt a certain number of times because he was so short.
It's that is hilarious coming from Dalinar, Way of Kings, who
I think that's the point.
yeah. So but yeah, I over the whole course of the series, I would have liked to see the Ardentia play more of a part.
Yeah,
because it was part of the world building that I thought was kind of interesting, especially coming, from a Christian side of the perspective, and we have understanding and knowledge about monks and the Holy Roman Empire and stuff like that.
To that end, we get more, not really more of that, but we get some of that in Wind and Truth because we see Zeth's backstory when he was an acolyte, and that's like a big part of the book is him being an acolyte
to the Ardents,
to his people's religion.
Gotcha.
Which is, I mean, they know it's we don't get much until that book. Yeah, the Stone Faith, but they have they have a whole thing where they understand who the heralds are and like they have a whole like Illuminati thing going on. So it's too much to explain here.
Another friggin' secret society
we didn't have enough of those.
Sanderson book. Good lord, what is that? 4 or 5?
It's
in Stormlight now.
And half the time you think it's one person, it's just two of the others false flagging it. I swear, it's too much to keep track of.
Ultimately, it's just friggin' Kelsier and Nail just throwing rocks at each other.
Yeah, that's really what it does boil down to for the most part. I never really thought about it like that before. But
and they're both perpetuals.
In all of the in all of the spin-offs and side projects Brando does, I would like to see at least a book that's like at least a novelette that's it. I mean, I want a full book. I want like a full him taking his time to do it.
Well, yeah, it would still be called a novelette if it's not part of.
I gotcha. But I want one that's like in the singer's past culture that it doesn't have anything to do with the current conflict. Like, not we're seeing Venli and everything is about what's going on now. Just like some neat adventures with some neat world building stuff. And I'd also like to see like a Redwall style, like Ardent book set in a completely different time period. Just so that we're just seeing we have all these crazy different cultures with all of these amazing things that have happened over time on this planet. I'd just like to see some snapshots of them where everything isn't pointing toward the end game Infinity War of the whole Brando cinematic universe.
Sanderson has definitely given himself the option to do that, not only because of how fleshed out the cultures, well, so some of the cultures anyway, not only because of how fleshed out the cultural pictures that we have are, but also because we have so many different time periods between
Such a stupid amount of time has passed.
Excuse me. So
you could make up literally anything and say that it just happened in between two desolations.
His setup could be anywhere from legitimately Stone Age to Bronze Age to Iron Age to advanced fabrial techniques.
Yeah, he could literally have a like advanced civilization and just retcon it that there was one desolation where they got like advanced technology and then it was all wiped away and it wouldn't even matter. Like it wouldn't affect anything. It would all work fine.
It would all be acceptable to the Stormlight canon just because of how absurdly long
it's ridiculous.
The time period is between like the start of the Stormlight story.
Yeah.
People coming over from frickin' Yarnum or whatever the planet's name is.
Yeah. They were not wanted here for sure.
To the quote unquote present day in Stormlight. So I think that's a great opportunity that he could take, and certainly if he wants to, I know he would do. He
did some good stuff in Mistborn era too. I didn't like the majority of it, but there were some bits that I really liked. And he's planning on doing more like time shifted stuff. He's done it before. I think he could do it again.
We'll see what happens. I kind of doubt that we'll get a ardent focused story either way, but we'll see.
We'll see.
See what happens.
And I think that was everything that I wanted to discuss with this chapter. Just in general, this is, when I think about the cool stuff in book one, this is one of the things that I think about. Like one of the first things that comes to mind.
Nice. I'm trying to think. Those scenes for me might be cool things in Stormlight. Kaladin learning his surges when he's just learning to fly, like learning the lashings.
Yep.
Is up there, just, kind of character taking his first steps sort of thing.
Yeah.
His first full run in Bridge 4, which is actually coming up in just the next couple of chapters, I believe, is up there. I think the next chapter is Kaladin getting assigned to Bridge 4.
I think you're right. I think it's called Bridge 4, the next chapter.
It may literally be called Bridge 4. And I think the Adolin's duel in the arena is next book, correct?
The one where Kaladin jumps in? Yeah, that's like the climax of the second, not quite climax, but it's like the thing that makes Adolin say, "This is my bro." We are brothers. We are battle brothers now, and makes Moash finally snap.
Moash is like, a light eyes? What? What do you mean? What do you mean he didn't try to kill you in prison? Come on, Kaladin, can't you just say he tried to kill you in prison?
And then Moash says, well, it's okay, because I'm a light eyes now.
So weird.
Yeah, so weird. We'll get there eventually.
I think that's kind of where we're at.
Yeah. All right, then I think we can really end there. Thank you, as always, my brother, for joining me for this discussion, and hopefully we'll be able to meet next week to talk about Bridge 4.